Hey guys, Dirt here, and today we're taking a look at the DVD release of NYPD Blue Season 5 from Shout Factory. Now, I don't usually do DVD reviews like this. I've been doing these little skits with Dirt, and we're talking to each other and arguing and everything like that. But NYPD Blue was a little harder for me to do that type of review with because, well, there's really not a lot of funny, amusing stuff that you can really talk about with this show. This show is really dark and really intense and doesn't lend itself to that type of funny type stuff. So, straightforward, let's just talk a little bit first about the show, and then we'll talk about the new packaging and the release from Shout Factory. Now, the show itself, of course, Season 5, David Caruso has already left. You've got Dennis Franz and you've got Jimmy Smits, and they are really the stars of the show. They're carrying most of the storyline now. And you got some real gems of the episodes in here. Most notably, there are two 90-minute episodes, which, of course, after commercials break down to about an hour. But the two episodes, one is Lost Israel, and the second one is Honeymoon at Viagra Falls, which I guess the title there is a pretty good piece of humor. But both of those episodes are really like mini movies, and especially Lost Israel Part 2. If you take Part 1, put it with Part 2, you basically have a feature-length film. Now, I was never really that big into NYPD Blue compared to some of the other cop shows. I always kind of liked Law & Order's straightforward approach without really going into the personal lives of the people, whereas this is obviously much more of a character-driven drama. It's about the people and their relationships, going undercover and the strain that it brings between the different officers and some of that kind of stuff that goes on. I wasn't too familiar with it when I went into it, but I found that this season actually plays out pretty clearly. They do a recap of what happened at the end of the last season, so when you start with this season, everything kind of makes sense, everything is just falling into place, and it all pretty well works out. So for me, being someone unfamiliar really with the show, I had no problem getting into it and following it. Everything played out pretty easily as far as that goes. All 22 original episodes of the series are on here. It makes for a really long time watching. This was 16 hours of television, and yes, I sat down and watched them all because that's the type of reviewer I am. And the show being as dark and moody as it is, a lot of times what the show does is you kind of like the characters. Obviously, they're your protagonists, but then they're so deeply flawed that you're kind of repelled by them, but you're repelled by them, you feel bad about the fact that you're kind of repelled by them, because then you realize these are a lot of mistakes that we all make and situations we'd all have a bad time in, so then you start to kind of like them again. So over the course of the season, I found myself, at first like, man, these guys are so unlikable. Like, who would watch this show? And then as the season went on, I started to kind of get it a little bit more. You know what I mean? And I really came out where I liked the guys. And you really kind of feel for some of the hardships that they go through in their lives and why it makes them into the people that they are. So I think it does a really good job of playing those character strengths. And that's the type of thing you don't get on some of the other procedural shows, the Law & Order type shows that really kind of ran the police genre of TV shows for, I guess, just about 2 decades. So this was kind of a neat break. Now, as far as the release on DVD goes, the picture quality is not the best, but that's kind of because of the product of its time. It's from 1998, and a lot of stuff was starting to play around with kind of the digital transfers and stuff like that, and it loses some of that crispness that you would get. But I went back and looked at some of the earlier seasons to compare it with, and it's right on par with the other releases. So if you bought seasons 1 through 4 earlier and you want to know if this fits in, it fits right in. The quality is pretty much identical. Like, I couldn't notice a difference between the quality release of the earlier seasons and this season here as well. You can see the menu on the screen behind me here, and that menu is about as interactive as these DVDs get. There's no animation, there's some music, there's no sub-menus, I mean, that's pretty much it. Although you do get the play all feature, so when I sat down on a Sunday afternoon and I was going to watch a whole bunch of these episodes in a row, I just hit play all, and the whole thing would just stream. So that was pretty nice as well. The one thing, though, I'm going to hit Shout Factory for, again, no subtitles. I read online, someone said, oh, well, these are captioned, but you don't get subtitles. And I'm like, captioned, but no subtitles? What's the difference? There isn't one. There are no captions. There are no subtitles. They don't exist. You can't turn them on. They're not on there at all. So anyone hard of hearing, or you just like having, like I like having the subtitles on, I guess just because I'm old. And I like having the words there just so I understand what's going on better. Not existing here. But, I mean, most of you probably don't care about subtitles or captions or anything like that. There are no bonuses to speak of. This is pretty much just the collection of the TV show with some menus on the front end of it. And I guess it's going to bother some people not having any extra stuff, but this show came out in 1998. So to go back and to try to dig up some old promos or something is probably not as easy as you'd think. And a lot of these guys have moved on to bigger and better things, and so you're not going to be able to sit them down for an interview to talk about Season 5 of NYPD Blue. So kind of understandable that there aren't a lot of extras on there, but they did put the season on 6 DVDs. So inside this case, you actually have 6 discs. I've got one of them in the player right now to get the menu up. But you get the 6 discs in there. So they didn't highly compress them. There's not a lot of artifacts and stuff like that. It does actually look good, again, for a product of its time. And similar to other Shout Factory releases, they have the episode lists on the back of the artwork there, so you can see the title of the episode and the date it was on and a brief synopsis of what happens in it. So if you're looking for a specific one, like a couple times I thought, wait a minute, I want to go back and see what happened in an earlier one because the story is continuing on, I could kind of look through and be like, oh, okay, that was the one, so I knew which disc to pull out and put in. Also, each disc features artwork of a different character. Which is, it's actually kind of nice that they distinguish all the discs separately. It's, you know, just your standard headshots, logo, you know, clip art, that kind of stuff, but at least they stand apart. You can easily look at a disc and tell what order they're supposed to be in, so you're not, you know, throwing the wrong one in and getting really confused trying to follow the episodes. So for this package, I mean, you're talking 16 hours, 22 episodes, 2 of the episodes being super long and almost, you know, movies unto themselves. It's a good overall package. Plus, like I said, not being familiar with Season 5 going into it, I really had no problem getting into the story. I had no problem following the characters. And I have to admit, when I got to the end, I don't know, should I spoil the season finale from 1998? A couple people got married. So there was a big wedding hook at the end. That was kind of like the big, you know, finale for the season, something that they were leading up to. And now I'm kind of interested to go forward, although being that it's NYPD Blue, after what I've seen in this season, I've got a pretty good feeling things aren't going to end up entirely pretty at the end. But overall, a good show, a good collection, and looks like a pretty good value for being the price. The only thing it's missing, again, subtitles. Other than that, I have to say it's a good collection. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.